wanted to talk about plein air a little bit today. These are a few of my pieces that I have done in plein air out on location recently here in Kentucky at the Asbury hiking trail. What I want to talk about is a lot of different ways that you can use plein air. You can be studying the color, you can be studying inspiration, and with this video what I want to do is show you the pieces that I did while I was on the plein air trip, and then show you the reference photos that I also took at the same time. So that's Asbury, and then these are some pieces that I did down at Shaker Village. I want you to know two things about plein air. Thing number one, it's not easy. Thing number two is you learn a lot, even from your mistakes. Now these two that I'm showing you right now were done on the same day. There was one other one, where is it? Here it is, that I did, and that definitely is an incomplete one. These two are incomplete, but there's information there that I could redo for a new, larger one. I particularly like this one. I call it The Conversation. Those two girls sat there and talked for probably 2 hours. Didn't know I was behind them drawing. That was cool. And so these are the pieces that I did at Shaker Village about a week after I did those. I like doing smaller color studies, as you can see here. Now this one developed into a larger one. But when I just do a color study, it takes away the pressure of trying to do something that is a finished piece. It can just be a color study like a thumbnail. This little thumbnail I did first to work out my composition. It would have been nice if I'd had a sketchbook with me, but because I put everything in a backpack, I try not to have the backpack too heavy, so I left the sketchbook at home. But because this whole piece of paper is just a study that I'm not planning on doing anything with other than bringing it back to the studio and using this plus my reference photos to develop a bigger piece if I'm excited about it. This piece, my focus was the sky, because the sky was showing a lot of different striations of clouds, including the very high cirrus clouds, which is a mark of changing weather. As I was getting into this, I also started getting into what's going on here in the landscape, and I want at least a 2/3, 1/3 division. If I develop this into a bigger piece, I'll have to decide if I want this much attention on the landscape, on the land part, because if the sky is my focus, that's what I'm interested in. There may be too much information down here, because when you're out there, it's kind of like, okay, this is what I'm excited about, then that's probably what I needed to focus on. Here I'm just working on the different colors of the clouds. Now this piece I was interested in it when I first started it, particularly the trail, but the final little sketch has become too predictable. If I develop this into a bigger piece, I'm going to have to figure out some way to make it more interesting, because I'm not excited about it. I don't know why anyone else would be. This piece, I was just studying the clouds. I wanted to study the rhythm of the clouds, the color of the clouds, what's going on down here. You know, is there a rainstorm coming? You know, you can make it look even more like there's a rainstorm coming. But then once I got into it, I was like, ooh, I kind of like it. Maybe I'll put a little bit of land in it to kind of give it a focus, a little bit more of a focus, rather than just a cloud study. So plein air can be challenging, but there's so much that you learn when you're out there. You can see into the shadows with the reference photo. I mean, this of course is very dark right now. I would develop it more with more lights and shadows in it, but you can see down into the depths of things when you're actually there, more so than what my photographs would show. These two were from a most recent trip to Bourbon County, to a farm out by Paris, Kentucky. The one on the left was done in the morning. I was very interested in the dark trees, the silhouette they were creating, and the way the light was hitting that final sycamore over on the left. My reference photo, which you'll see in a few minutes, really doesn't show that much attention on the sycamore on the left. If I hadn't taken my pastels there and done it on the spot, the reference photo was disappointing. We'll say it that way. The one on the right, I had in the trash for a few minutes. Decided, oh, I'll get it out and show it here on the video, so that you can understand that every piece that you do is not precious. It's just a learning process for you to become a better artist. The one on the right was later on in the day. I was enjoying the day. It was a pretty day, and I didn't really want to go home. So I wandered on around the creek and I saw this scene, but I really wasn't excited about it. But I wanted to do something. So I didn't do a little sketch like I should have, a little thumbnail, black and white. I just jumped right into it. And I find the result very disappointing. In fact, to the point where it will go back into the trash in a few minutes. But I think you can see the difference in the two. The one on the left has a lot more energy, a lot more interest. So plein air is, as I said earlier, it's a challenge, but you learn so much. And one thing, there's so much out there to deal with. Now, what I like is I have this homemade viewfinder. It's just acrylic duct tape, and I did the 1/3 lines on it so that when I look through it, it automatically divides the landscape up for me into the 1/3, 2/3 split. Now, a lot of people have this kind of viewfinder. The nice thing about this is you can change the format. You want to do a panoramic, you can just slide this up and down and change the format. Square, not something that I use that often. And on the back here, it tells you, like this is an 8x12 right there. Both of these are very, very handy. I keep both of them in my backpack, but this is the one that I use the most.